April is Stress Awareness Month. And as a life coach who works with a lot of perfectionists and recovering perfectionists, I can tell you that one thing we all have in common is that our perfectionism creates a lot of stress for us. We might all experience that stress differently, but there isn't a perfectionist out there who can say that their quest for their version of perfect has made them more mellow and carefree. Nope. It actually makes us a little bit neurotic and obsessive, unforgiving and judgy, and it makes a lot of us really hard for other people to tolerate. So, in honor of Stress Awareness Month, I wanted to offer you a quick strategy that will help you cut down on the stress you experience from perfectionism when you're making decisions. I'm going to try not to hold you too long, but this will be a juicy episode full of gems. So do yourself a favor, grab your favorite notebook and writing utensil, and prepare yourself to take notes and soak up all of this juicy goodness. Ready? Let's go. Good day, good people. Welcome back to episode 98 of the Life Edit Project podcast. As always, I'm your girl, your favorite life coach and podcast host, Coach Elizabeth, and I'm glad to be back. I'm grateful, as always, to have you here with me. It's April 2025, and that means a lot of things to me. First, it means that I am coming up on the second anniversary of launching this podcast. I am blown away. I cannot believe it. I don't even really know how to celebrate my 100th episode, much less my second podcast anniversary. So let me know if you have any ideas. I'd really appreciate it. Send me your ideas. Use the Ask Me Anything form. You'll find the link to that in the show notes. So go ahead and do that. Thanks in advance. I appreciate all ideas. April is also kind of a big deal because it's my mamaversary. So y'all know that I have one child, my daughter Naomi, and you've heard her. She's been on the show a few times. She's hilarious and she's smart and she's kind and creative, and I love her so much. But what you might not know is that she's an April Fool's baby. She was born on April 1st. So every year around this time, I get real sentimental and I start to reflect on just how amazing she is and how much she's grown and changed. But I also take time to celebrate myself for having kept a tiny human alive for another year. And I kind of pinch myself to confirm that yes, I am in fact somebody's mama. Because what is that, right? A lot of times I still feel like a child myself, but no, I'm responsible for a child, and that's wild to me. So in April, I've gotten into the habit of not just saying that it's her birthday, but that it's my mamaversary, because it's important for me to think back on all the ways that I have also evolved since becoming a mom. Now, speaking of children, if you've ever been responsible for keeping a tiny human alive, or even just taking care of a kid for more than a few hours, you probably know that taking care of kids can be stressful. And because it's Stress Awareness Month, I think it's appropriate to acknowledge that as lovely as parenthood can be, it can also be very stressful. In fact, stress accompanies a lot of the things that we love the most in life. And one major source of stress, especially for perfectionists, is making decisions. Parenthood means that you're making lots of decisions about your child and on behalf of your child, just all the time, every day. But lots of other things are like this in life too. Our interpersonal relationships are full of decisions. And the more you interact with someone, the more decisions you're faced with regarding that relationship. Our jobs and careers can also be full of decisions, especially if you're in some kind of leadership role. You are literally a decision maker. Personal finance is all about decisions, and all of us have finances. Even just existing in your body requires a bunch of decisions, like what to eat, what to wear, what time to roll out of bed, and what to do with your hair, right? Life is literally full of decisions. And if you're a perfectionist, or even a recovering perfectionist like me, making decisions can be agonizing. And not necessarily because you're dealing with different kinds of decisions than people who are not perfectionists, but because for you, the stakes feel higher for every decision that you have to make. And so when even the tiny decisions of life feel high stakes, you're going to feel a lot of stress. So today, I want to give you a strategy for how to make more stress-free choices. Because I'm not going to tell you what to do or not do, but I can help you think differently about what you do so that you can feel better along the way, because that's the name of the game, right? Okay, so what you need, my friend, is a decision detox. Why a decision detox, and what does that entail? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Think of a decision detox as going on a cleanse where you stop partaking in something toxic, or where you take a break from consuming something that becomes toxic when it builds up too much in your system. So, stressful decisions are a lot like that. It's the accumulation of stress that comes from the stream of unending choices that you have to make in daily life that creates problems. And what we're not going to do is pretend like you can live a stress free life by avoiding decisions completely. That would actually be a terrible idea, and it would backfire in the worst way. Don't do that. Don't try to avoid decisions. Instead, here's a way to approach decision making that is going to help you just flush out all of the bad mojo that's been building up and avoid creating unnecessary stress around future decisions. So, number one to this decision detox, prioritize high impact decisions. Sometimes decisions are stressful because we don't have the bandwidth we need to actually make them well and to make them confidently. And some decisions will actually have a huge impact on your life or on your immediate situation, and so they deserve your time and attention. For example, let's go back to relationships. Deciding whether or not you're going to marry someone is a high impact decision that's going to affect your life. So if you've been dating someone for a few months and they surprise you with a proposal and you've never thought about marrying them until that very moment, you are going to be stressed out trying to decide on the spot whether or not to say yes. Right? And that's going to be true for a lot of high impact decisions. Trying to make them in real time creates a type of stress that we can actually avoid by just giving the choice itself some breathing room. And prioritizing high impact decisions doesn't just mean giving yourself enough time to make a decision. It also means giving yourself the information and the perspective and even the energy that you need to approach that decision and to feel confident about whatever you land on. Now, when I work one-on-one with my coaching clients, one of the things that I teach them is my original decision-making framework. And so I teach them the 4 elements of this framework, and I teach them how to use the framework. And it gives them a simple, repeatable, and clear process that they can walk themselves through whenever they're facing any kind of decision. And it's impossible to use this decision-making framework without treating the decision like it's a priority, because the prioritization is literally built into every single element of the framework. So it takes all of the drama out of the high impact decision. And so you can feel the seriousness and the weight and the importance of the decision that you're considering, but you don't have to feel stressed about making it. So that's the first step to your decision detox. Learn to prioritize high impact decisions. The second step in your decision detox is to simplify low impact decisions. So there's no good reason to stress out over decisions that won't significantly impact you and your life in one way or another. I'll give you an example of a low impact decision from my own life. So my husband and I, we love to watch movies together. We have a huge Blu-ray collection and we subscribe to several streaming services. So if we're having an at-home movie date night, picking a movie is a decision that has to be made. But the real impact for us is in spending time together, not in whatever the specific movie is that's going to be playing. So this is the kind of decision that can be simplified so that it doesn't turn into an argument or a 20-minute debate, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not that serious. So one thing that we might do to simplify this kind of decision is use the 5-2-1 approach. I don't actually know if that's what this approach is called. That's what I call it because that makes sense to me. But I did not make this up. I came across this at some point on the internet years ago and I thought it was great. So here's how it works. One person picks 5 movies that we would want to watch. Then the next person eliminates 3 of those options. And then the first person, the one who picked the first 5 movies, gets to make the final choice from the remaining 2 options. So you have 5 choices, you narrow it down to 2 choices, and then you're left with one final option. And this is so simple. And we just like flip a coin to decide who gets to be the one to pick the 5 movies to start, right? So the first time we did this to pick a movie, it took us like 2 minutes to make the decision instead of like 10. And on top of that, it was fun. It felt like a game. And so that's an example of how you can simplify a low impact decision. So you want to still make the choices, right? If the choice needs to be made, give yourself a way to make the choice, but remove and eliminate the stress completely. Make it easy to decide. So that's step 2. The third step in your decision detox is to eliminate no impact decisions. So you've got high impact decisions, low impact decisions, but there are also no impact decisions. Sometimes we opt into stress by forcing ourselves to make choices that literally don't need to be made. Or rather, they don't need to be made by us. You can outsource some decisions. You can delegate some decisions. Letting other people decide when the outcome doesn't matter to you is the same as the choice not existing. It has the effect of eliminating the decision, taking it right off of your plate. So let's go back to parenting for an example of this. When kids are little, we make lots of food choices for them, right? In the beginning, because babies literally cannot choose for themselves. And by the time they're old enough to be interested in something other than a bottle, they start putting everything in their mouths, whether it's food or not. So we, as the adults, make very important choices about what we allow them access to because it's going to end up in their mouths. And then we decide what to feed them with the intent of making sure that they're going to get nutritious food and grow up healthy and strong and thriving and all of that, right? But at a certain point, it's okay to let kids start to make some of their own food choices for themselves. So, for example, right now, my daughter has the freedom and the permission to get a snack if she wants one and we're between meals. On weekends, she can just decide to make herself a bowl of cereal for breakfast instead of waiting for me or my husband to get up and make something for her. And let me tell you, I love waking up leisurely on a Saturday morning to discover that I don't have to make a breakfast decision because my daughter has already decided. It's the best. And then I also did a lot of this, eliminating no impact decisions. I did this years ago when I was planning my wedding. So my husband and I, we had a pretty short engagement, just about 4.5 months, which is not a lot of time to plan a wedding for 200 guests, right? So I literally did not have time to stress out about anything. So I eliminated a lot of decisions for myself by just letting other people decide. I told my bridesmaids to pick their own dresses and shoes with just a little bit of inspiration for me for the look I was going for, but I'd let them decide. And then I remember letting my mom decide on the flowers. One day she called me up and she was asking me like what kind of flowers I wanted for the centerpieces or something. And my response to her was, I think all flowers are beautiful. You know what my color scheme is? Feel free to pick whatever you want. I literally could not be bothered with that decision. And my wedding was beautiful. Everything looked amazing. Everyone looked amazing. And if I had it to do over again, I would probably look for even more decisions to opt out of because that took so much stress off of my plate. So those are the 3 steps. That's how you can do your own decision detox to make more stress-free decisions. Prioritize high impact decisions, simplify low impact decisions, and eliminate no impact decisions. Of course, creating your own decision detox is going to be super hard for you if you can't tell the difference between high impact, low impact, and no impact decisions, or if you can't even envision what it looks like to put these steps into action in your own life. And that's where I come in as your coach. I would love to help you learn how to make more stress-free decisions and to make them faster and with more confidence. And that's exactly what will happen when you hire me as your personal life coach and work with me one-on-one. I have 2 spots open for clients right now. To claim one of them for yourself, just use the link that's in the show notes to book a call with me, and let's talk about what it looks like to work together. All right. That's all for now. I will be back in your ears next week with another juicy episode. In the meantime, holla at your girl on social media and tell me if this episode was helpful. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word, in all the places. So drop me a line. I'll see you next week. Peace.